I'm here in Woonrunen. I think that's how you say it, I'm not too sure. Woonrunen National Park, and I'm doing the trail to Nandroya Falls. It's a real nice trail through the thick jungle that has the spectacular waterfall at the end. So this is actually my 4th time doing this hike, but I just love how it goes into the jungle, and the waterfall at the end is just probably my favorite in Australia. It's not the biggest or the widest, but it definitely is pretty spectacular, and I like it because it's a good hike to get there, so it's rewarding once you reach it, and it's just kind of in the middle of the jungle too, so it's got a really nice feel to it. Now, it took me quite a while to fine-tune my composition, just because I want to try and get it perfect with nothing protruding in the scene that I don't want, and I want these ferns nice in the foreground. So I went for a vertical orientation, and I'm going to have to focus stack this one by focusing on the ferns in the foreground, then focusing on the waterfall in the background. So I'm shooting at f11, ISO 100, 1/1/6 of a second, which unfortunately that makes the waterfall kind of look like one whole streak. So I think I'm gonna up the ISO and take some pictures at a faster shutter speed, just so I can get the waterfall as it's pounding down and get some detail in the water. So now I've upped the ISO to ISO 2000. And I'm shooting at 1/13 of a second just so I can get detail in the waterfall in case I want to mask it in later to have that dramatic look. And then with this scene as well, since at the top of the waterfall it's very bright, what I'm doing with my composition is I'm framing it just right, so I'm cutting off just the top of the waterfall. So you can just see where it flows over, but that big white speck up there isn't in the image, just so it doesn't add anything unpleasing to the image. Today I'm at the Waterfall Drive, which is around the town of Milla in the Atherton Tablelands, and it has 3 pretty famous waterfalls, starting with the first one where I'm at now, Milla Falls. So I have my camera set up here, and I've already got a composition, pretty much the only composition I could find, just because there's so much open area here. So I came to these bushes, and what I have is the waterfall framed right in between this little gap, with the orange bush kind of where the waterfall is falling, and then the waterfall a little over to the left. And we are getting a lot of spray, so I've got to keep my lens cap on my camera and then take it off real quick when I'm ready to take an image, then wipe it, then put it back on. just so I can get a sharp image. What I'm doing for my settings is shooting 1/60th of a second for ISO, f8, ISO 400, just because I want a fast shutter speed so I can freeze the action of the waterfall. And the wind's kind of blowing these bushes in the foreground, so I want a fast shutter speed so I don't get motion blur in those as well. Sorry for the noise. Again, I'm right by the waterfall, so it's really loud. So I've really been struggling to find a composition. This is a quite difficult spot to shoot because there's all these trees and leaves above me. So it's hard to get the top of the waterfall and the bottom of the waterfall unobscured in a single frame. The Atherton Tablelands are still in the wet tropics of northeast Queensland. So it's in the rainforest here, and there's all these nice ferns and just such thick vegetation and pretty interesting plants. Hard to get a picture of this stuff though because there's just so much and it's just so chaotic. It's really hard to kind of single something out. So it is a nice overlook of the gorge and everything this way on all these rocks. And all these rocks form the cliff up here. So I'm just gonna kind of hop around, look for different compositions. So I'm all set up, and it took me a while to balance my tripod just because these rocks are so unbalanced, and to get the composition I wanted, it was a bit challenging. So now I'm going to start shooting, but we are starting to get some clouds that are rolling in over the hilltops there, so it's pretty nice. And we still have about a half hour until sunset, but I'm taking pictures now just because the light's pretty good. Well, actually there's no sunlight, but it's all pretty balanced, so there's not too high of a dynamic range. Kind of one of the problems with this composition as well is it would be much better if you could see the bottom of the gorge in the image. But unfortunately, in order for me to get that pool in the foreground, I had to cut out the gorge so you can't see the bottom. Now I'm doing just some self-portraits because we're not going to get any light tonight, and I think for what I was shooting, that's the best shots I'm going to get, for the good or the bad. So now I've got it set, my composition here. Yep, I just got a wide open shot of the whole kind of gorge down there, and I'm running down to the left bit. There's kind of a rock on the left there that I'm running down to. And I've got my camera on a 6-second exposure, so I gotta make sure I stand very still, otherwise I'll be blurry. And yep, got a 10-second timer and then taking 4 consecutive images just to increase the chances of me getting a clear shot.